All right, the Niners have met with a bunch of players in Indy. Cornerbacks, Enos Rakestra from Missouri, Max Melton from Rutgers. Those two guys. I'll tell you, I saw an interview yesterday on the NFL Network of Terrion Arnold, and
Cornerback from Bama.
I love Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold is my if I mean the corner need is not primary, it's more secondary because you have other corners including Mooney Ward and Demo.
He's just a great kid.
But Terrion Arnold is not just a great kid, he's a great athlete and a great kid. And when you can get a great athlete and a great kid, that's a foundation piece player. I'll say this, if Terrion Arnold is on the board when my team's picking, I don't care what I need. I would have a hard time not drafting that kid. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but he did an interview yesterday with the Stacey Dale or Tracy Dale or whatever from the NFL Network or NFL.com. It was amazing. He was like, he was shouting out his mother for driving him to practice, and he's like, sent her a message at the end of the combine. It was so powerful, so strong, so rooted in everything that I believe in as a parent. And then the kid's tape and athleticism are off the charts. I would have a really hard time passing on Terrion Arnold. He is awesome. I know the other corner's good too, but that kid is really good.
Yeah, he's fast, instinctual. Was challenged a lot as the number one corner. Matter of fact, had to fight his way onto the field. There's another corner there, Kool-Aid McKinstry, that played opposite of him. He is support. But I will say that Terrion Arnold is just like, he's a Nick Saban favorite. I mean, he's a leader on defense, instinctual, tackles really well, sound player, good speed, good top end speed too. Good in and out of his drop, as far as getting to the top of getting to the top of his zone. And he's long. On top of it, he's not an undersized kid, and I feel like he's got more weight to put on. He can actually gain some weight. Terrion is the type of guy that honestly I could see him playing corner for us, and if we got put in a pinch, playing safety as well. He's that type of athlete. He's kind of a do-it-all type of dude. And also he'll be an asset on special teams if we picked him up. So honestly,
who's better between McKinstry and Arnold? Not who's going first, it's going to be Arnold.
Right.
Who do you think is going to be the better pro?
Terrion Arnold's going to be the better pro.
Okay.
Yeah. Kool-Aid is cool, but when Kool-Aid first came to Bama, he kind of had his heart set in a lot of different places. He's a very talented basketball player. He wanted to be a dual sport athlete when he first came to Alabama, and Coach Saban kind of sat him down and said, you need to make a decision where you need to be. Now, one thing about Kool-Aid is that he's been hurt throughout his career, right? So him being hurt right now necessarily isn't any news. So that's one thing I will say right now. And then as far as like just, in college, you get a little bit more of, these guys aren't pros. So you get more of like a hands-on feel of how they're matriculating through the program. And Terrion Arnold and Miss Terry, which is Coach Saban's wife, they're best friends. Like they share books together. He's a culture fit. Like he would come here and make other pros kind of tighten their game up because of how put together he is. He's that type of kid.
Yeah, special player. He's not going to be available
type of kid.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be available to the Niners, but Niners did meet with they didn't meet with him. They met with Enos Rakestra, Max Melton, who I love from Rutgers, DeCamerion Richardson from Mississippi State, and Kool-Aid Kool-Aid McKinstry from Bama. The Niners
I got a couple of other names too. If you
go ahead.
You have them? No, you sure?
Those are just the corners.
Oh, go ahead then. Go ahead.
Okay, so
I'm sure you're going to name who I was going to name. Yeah.
Wide receiver wise, I thought this was kind of interesting. The Niners met with Jalen McMillan from Washington. Not a huge fan. Xavier Legette from South Carolina. I am a big fan of his. Ladd McConkey from Georgia. Luke McCaffrey from Rice. Bub Means from Pitt, who can flat out roll. Xavier Worthy from Texas, Brendan Rice from SC, Troy Franklin from Oregon, and Brian Thomas Jr., who I love from LSU. What do you make of that, Coach? They have Jauan Jennings as a restricted. They have Debo signed. Lynch is on record as saying they want to sign Ayuk. You have Danny Gray. You have Ronnie Bell. You have Tay Martin. You have, they don't need a receiver. They're meeting with a lot of day 2 receivers. I don't love Jalen McMillan, but they met with him. They met with Xavier Legette, Ladd McConkey, McCaffrey, Means.
Bub Means is a dog.
Means can fly, too. I mean, he can really run. Brian Thomas is crazy good. I get the feeling that the 49ers understand that Jauan Jennings restricted free agent market could get out of hand. And they are getting – I don't think they can trade Debo. I don't think they want to trade Ayuk. I don't think they want to trade Jauan, but I don't think they can keep all 3 of those guys. I think Jauan is going to get – especially after the way he played in the Super Bowl and how many Niner people are around the league. You got Rand Carthon in Tennessee. You got D'Amico in Houston with Slowick. I think somebody's going to come knocking in restricted free agency for Jauan. They put a second-round tender on him. I think the Niners would take like a third-round pick for Jauan, and I think they're looking into the draft for Jauan's replacement. I really do. I
agree.
What do you make of it?
I agree.
Or do you think Debo or Ayuk get dealt?
That's too much of a blow for the loss that we just took, right? For BA to go somewhere and for BA to move on, it's kind of hard to say that we're running it back with losing a piece like BA, right? And I feel the same way about Debo. I mean, I've made my thoughts known about how I feel about Debo underplaying his contract, and I don't think that he's worth the $28 million that he's due this year. However, I still do believe that there's a way that he restructures and in lieu of getting BA paid. I do believe that Jauan Jennings is the odd man out, and he will get outpriced. But one of the reasons why I feel like he'll get outpriced is because he deserves it. But to be quite frank, it's the last game he had. I mean, if we win that game, it's kind of hard not to argue that Jauan Jennings is not the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's kind of hard to argue that. So with that said, I mean, your last tape is your best tape. You know what I'm saying? Your best tape is your last tape. So, he may have priced us out the game, man. It may look like they are looking for life after Jauan because he played so well. I mean, right now, it's going to be hard finding somebody that blocks like him. I understand getting open, but it's known since Jauan has been here. I mean, he didn't play against the Ravens game. And in my opinion, that was kind of like the story of the game. He was sorely missed because we were moving the ball up and down the field on the Ravens. That wasn't the issue. It's the turnovers. But what really was the turnovers, I feel like the turnovers were the symptoms, but the disease was the fact that we couldn't prove to the Ravens that we can consistently run the ball. And we got caught throwing the ball way too many times. And I feel like a lot of that was because of, one, our offensive line, but two, we were missing Jauan that game. And he is a very good blocker. That's the thing. If they're going to find a receiver, that's cool. But Jauan is way more than just a receiver. He's almost like a glorified move tight end, right? Like, I feel like he's like a detached tight end in certain aspects. So it's going to be tough sledding, replacing him. Hopefully we don't have to. Spending a second round pick on a guy like Jauan is also a little bit rich too, to be honest. And I see what they're doing. If they had a third round tender on him, I would feel a little bit more concerned because I'd be saying he's as good as gone. He's definitely worth a third round tender. Somebody to get on your field right away in the third round and actually play. There's not a lot of third round picks unless you're a lineman that can actually get on your field and contribute right away. So he'd be worth that. But a second round pick, I do feel like that teams may come sniffing around, but they'll balk. Second round pick is a really big price tag to pay for a third option. I don't see any team taking Jauan on as a second option of their offense.
He just doesn't run that well, but
he doesn't run that. Yeah, he doesn't run that well.
The guy plays big in big games, so it's like.
But for us, though, you know what I mean? Like, it's where we put him, the positions in which we put him. So
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what they're going to do there, but I get the feeling that they're going to trade Juwan and go with one of these receivers. They also had a bunch of running backs they worked out or visited with. Frank Gore Jr., who I love,
Mhm.
Jawar Jordan from Louisville, Dejon Edwards from Georgia, who's super athletic. And then I'll tell you, one of my sleeper guys in the draft I love is Isaac Garendo for Louisville, who I kind of think of. He ran, by the way, Coach, yesterday. Isaac Garendo, 4.33 at 228 pounds or whatever he is. He's kind of a one back, but man, if I was going to get rid of Juice, I would try to replace Juice with this kid because Juice is obviously better, can do a bunch of things, but they don't use him tons as a blocker. It seems like he's more of like a gadget guy, and I think Garendo could be a fullback with speed. And
How much does he weigh?
I think he weighs like 225, and he ran 4.33.
That's big enough.
Oh yeah, I mean
that would be a huge weapon for us too, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being able to have that type of speed.
The other thing is, who's your third quarterback? Do you re-sign Darnold? Do you re-sign Brandon Allen? And do you replace one of those guys with either a young veteran? They did work out, or they did meet with Michael Pratt from Tulane, who had a really good year for Tulane.